Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and this is going to be a brief little review for Sword Art Online, episode 24. We finally got some stuff in this episode that I have just been waiting for a super long time, and it was well worth the wait, let me say. Now, before I get into any of that, let me go ahead and get a spoiler warning out of the way. If you haven't seen the episode, you probably don't want to listen to this review until after the fact. You'll want to click off and come back later. Otherwise, you'll be sticking with me, and let's rock and roll. Now, we're pretty much picking up right where we left off with Kirito and Yui sort of being teleported away from that last portal inside the World Tree, and they end up rematerializing in that corridor we saw Asuna had found in the episode where she escaped and then stumbled onto the key card and those two weird sort of slug octopus guys and everything, and just that den of horrors that is Sugo's brain manipulation room and all of that stuff. And so I knew they were so close to finding her, and of course Yui can use her sensing capabilities. She knew exactly where she was. I loved how every time they get to a wall or a barrier or whatever it is, Yui just puts her hands on it and nukes the thing, and they just barrel on through, and they finally see Asuna. They get into that cage, same means, just blowing the cage door away, and they're finally reunited. Now, I wanted to heave a sigh of relief at this point because it was like, yes, it's finally done, but of course we can't forget that Sugo, aka Oberon, is still around, and chances are he's going to be showing up. Lo and behold, something funky begins to unfold right there as this is all happening, and it ends up being this super, like, gravity magic that Oberon has apparently used against both Kirito and Asuna. Now, Yui ends up whisking herself away, protecting herself in the nerve gear. I thought perhaps she had been destroyed, and I really wasn't going to be happy about that, frankly. But the scene that unfolds just grates the skin. It's like nails across the chalkboard times 10, because you have Oberon effectively stepping on Kirito. He has him down on the floor. He puts his sword through his back. He's stripping Asuna of her clothes, chaining her up to the ceiling. God only knows what he was going to do had Kirito not summoned up the strength and ferocity he needed to overpower this gravity spell. Now, I thought it was really cool and interesting that it all harkened back to what began this whole process. Heathcliff, aka Kayaba. Kirito hears the voice of Kayaba telling him, "Get up off the floor. Are you really going to do this after you faced me and bested me? You're going to let this clown beat you?" And of course, no. Kirito just lifts himself up off the floor, pulls that sword out of the floor with him, and I did think it was kind of funny how it like dangles out of his back and then falls on the floor behind him. But what follows is just spectacular. You have Oberon completely blitzed out of his mind. What the hell is going on? He's looking at Kirito. Kirito's about to hand him his ass, and the way he does so, the idea that Kayaba had his Heathcliff sort of recognition program still in there, and then Kirito uses that and overpowers Oberon in this game, and then just slices off his hand, slices him in half, stabs him in the head after throwing him, his disemboweled body up in the air, just blowing him out of the game once and for all. And that's the only thing about this. I would have been so satisfied with this ending if I didn't remind myself this is just in the game. It's not like SAO was, where, well, now he's dead out in the real world. He probably just got logged out, and that is still a potential threat in the real world that Kirito's going to have to face. Of course, yes, I had sort of misty-eyed relief that he and Asuna were back together again, that he could log her out. And the idea, as he races off after a few words with Sugu about, is it all over and all of that stuff? Yes, it is. They are so relieved, and he's so excited to go see her, but I still have this just pang of worry. What if something happened to Asuna? Like, what if she's still in a coma? What if she dies? What if she doesn't come out of it? I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how this story ends. And frankly, I know that Sugo is going to be out there. He's going to be waiting. And so there's still that one last hurdle to get past in the real world when everything is said and done. And then there's, of course, that scene that follows once Asuna, for all intents and purposes, has left the game, has been able to log out, where that ghostly apparition of Kayaba makes himself physical and talks to Kirito. And I love, I'm basically wondering, is Kayaba alive or dead? Kirito asks him that flat out. And Kayaba comes back with, well, I'm kind of both, or neither, whatever. And I love, Kirito's reaction to that, essentially saying, yeah, you always were a mystery, whatever. But essentially he hands him this seed, this like glowing orb that he says is a seed for a new world. And if Kirito is not still held back by the anger of what he experienced. I believe he's referencing SAO, of course. Well, this could be the beginning of something new, something bright, a bright future, if you will. And I just have to wonder, because I have heard hints of the SAO world and ALL worlds coming together, being brought together in a sort of unification. And so in this episode, we have just multiple levels of reunification, and it's just really cool. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below, as usual, what you thought of this episode. Did it just impact you as well as it did me? Do you have those lingering questions, even if you are a light novel reader? Is it still following the light novels? I'm always curious about that. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, that's pretty much all I have to say on this one. It was a stellar episode, and I can't wait to see how it all concludes. I can only hope that we're going to have some confirmation soon that they're going to pick up with a season 2 or 3, depending on your perspective, and we're going to be moving on to GGO at some point, Gun Gale Online. But in any case, that's it for me on this one, and I'll catch you later. Peace.